Hello, my name is Mary Coupland and welcome to The Road Ahead. Through a series of guests, we are going to help you navigate your own road ahead as you age. We will help you and your aging parents prepare for your journey. Let's face it, nobody wants to find themselves in a crisis mode simply because they did not have access to information well in advance. As the publisher of Compass and Clock, we're going to help you achieve your best future. Today, my guest is Mr. Richard Tizzano. Mr. Tizzano specializes in the field of elder law and long-term care crisis management. For over 20 years, he has helped thousands of families on their unexpected journeys of elder legal issues and long-term care. He's also the best-selling author of the book Accidental Safari, which helps folks with the challenges that come with aging. Richard, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we have a topic today that I think we really need to share with our viewers, and we're going to talk about the 529A ABLE account. So would you be kind enough to share with our viewers a brief overview of what that account is?
Sure. So the 529A or ABLE account, ABLE stands for Achieve a Better Life Experience. And it was passed by Congress about 3 years ago, and it enables people who are on Medicaid or people who are receiving SSI, people with disabilities who previously had no opportunity to have a bank account set aside for themselves because they had an asset limit of $2,000. It enables those folks now to have a fund created that they own and control, and it does not affect their eligibility for Medicaid or for SSI payments.
So if somebody's disabled, can they set up this account for themselves, or does somebody else set it up on their behalf?
So it falls under the 529. The number is the IRS code section, and they can set it up for themselves. I'll give you kind of the basic criteria for how it works. So the 529 plan was originally set up probably 25 years ago by Congress for people who had children who they expected to go to college, and so it was a way to set aside some funds, and you could contribute the maximum annual gift amount into the 529 plan, which was originally set up as an educational plan, and it would grow tax deferred, and if it ended up being used for education, it actually was tax free. You never ended up ever having to pay any income tax on the earnings if the money was taken out of the 529 plan to be used for the beneficiary's education. And so folks who had children who were not college bound and perhaps they had disabilities, they petitioned their Congress people and said, well, you know, that's great, 529 plan is great for people who have children going to college, my child's not, so how can we create some benefit for them? And so Congress came up with the 529A or ABLE Act. And so the basic requirements are the disability that requires that the person or makes the person eligible for SSI, which is supplemental Social Security income, or for Medicaid, which is the federal program that helps pay for long-term care or medical needs that can't be paid for by the individual. Those two programs have an asset limit of $2,000. And so the 529A allows the person who has the disability to have this account, which can go up to an amount of $100,000, and the account can be set up by the individual themselves if their disability is not to the extent where they're unable to do that. If they can't or are unable or need some assistance in setting it up themselves, then their legal guardian or a person under a power of attorney for them can set up the account for them. But the account is owned by the disabled individual themselves or the person who's on Medicaid. They own the account, and they have access to the account through a checkbook or through a debit card. And their use of those funds does not make them ineligible for the Medicaid benefit or the SSI benefit. So it's a fabulous program, because here these people, you know, if you're on SSI because you couldn't work for whatever reason and you're trying to get by, SSI is a program that's supposed to contribute or pay for basic food and housing. And it amounts to about $750 a month. And so if you're getting $750 a month and you can only have an account not in excess of $2,000, and your disability is not such that, let's say, you can drive a car, and so you somehow you manage to own a car and somehow pay the insurance and put gas in it.
It doesn't leave a lot of money.
It doesn't leave any money.
What
happens if, you know, you need a new muffler?
Right.
Where does that money come from? And so this is a way, it's just fabulous. It's a way for people to begin to accumulate funds. Let's say you're disabled and you can have a job, and it allows you to make some income, and not so much that it disqualifies you from eligibility for SSI. You know, maybe you work at Goodwill or wherever. That money can be directly deposited into your ABLE account. Does not count as income to you. And when it comes out of the ABLE account, because you're pulling it out of the other end of the account, is not income to you, and so it does not decrease your SSI payment. Because if you receive a gift or you work and you receive some income, for every $1 you receive, or $2 you receive, your SSI is reduced by $1. And so the money you receive...
So it doesn't cancel it out.
Correct.
That's perfect.
Money
then.
from the ABLE program does not diminish your other income.
Now, you and I have talked about this program before, so I'm not the expert on it, but I do know a little bit. So one of the things is there's an age limit having to do with the number age of 26. So
correct.
Can you
so that's
touch
part
base
of
on
the
that?
Yes, that's part of the eligibility. Is the disability has to be identified as having started prior to age 26. So you could be an adult, well, you're 26, you're an adult, but you could be in your 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. And if the disability was identified prior to age 26, you can still get on the program. And it's a minimal threshold, so you don't have to have, you know, big medical reports. Or I had one client who was going to apply, and she was in her 50s, and she managed to go and find a report card from her high school that showed she was in the mainstream, and then she went into a special ed program in high school. And so that was a sufficient proof to show that she had a disability that started prior to age 26.
Now, the $100,000 limit that you're talking about, my understanding is at any given time, it could be $100,000. But let's say it's $100,000 today, and $20,000 is used during that year, and it brought it down to $80,000. It can go back up to $100,000 throughout your lifetime. It just can't be over the $100,000 threshold at a given time.
Correct. So there's an annual limit of how much can go in. Right now it's $15,000 can be contributed or added to the program every year. So if somebody is actively using it, it's probably not going to increase that much. Some person might not have a need for a year or two, but the contributions can still come in. Either they can be gifts, they can be earnings. There's a number of different sources where it can come from, and it can build up. If it's not being used, it builds up. If it exceeds $100,000, then it counts as income, and then it's going to start disqualifying them from these eligibility.
So just don't exceed $100,000.
Right.
Try to stick with that.
And then there's a lifetime contribution. So if you have, maybe you've had generous relatives, or you've had some job where you're able to contribute the full amount every year, and there's a $500,000 lifetime contribution limit. So those are the parameters.
So if somebody is disabled to the extent that they can't financially access the account themselves, who takes care of it for them? Are they appointed a legal guardian, or it might be their parents, or?
Well, it's probably not going to be someone under 18 that would need the account, because they're not going to qualify for SSI. I guess that's it's.
Well,
But
a parent might have set it up though, knowing, let's pretend they're older parents. And so they might set it up when somebody's younger, so that should something happen to them as parents, there's money there for the kid.
Okay.
I don't know.
I guess they could continue making earlier contributions. But the people who can, if the person has a disability such that they're not able to do that themselves, then their guardian could do that, access the account, set up the account for them, or somebody who is their power of attorney, if they would have the financial authority to set up the account as well.
And then they'll help them, with when they need to use it, etc.
Right, they could access the account for them as well.
Now, is this available in the state of Washington?
It is. Like the 529 plan, it's not a federal program. It's a program that was passed which enabled the states themselves to set up the programs. And so it took Washington a couple years, but last year Washington initiated its 529A program, and you can set one up. Some states require that you be a resident of the state to be in the program of that state, and some states have the program open to any individuals in any state. In the 529 plan, the educational plan, as it progressed over the years, you could look into the programs in different states and see how the earnings were, because money is contributed into this program. It's a state program, but the state has hired a financial institution to manage the funds, and so you could look and see the history of the earnings and the growth in the fund. There's no, since it's a new program, there's no real history to look into, but the Washington program, I have not heard any complaints from my clients on that. Prior to Washington initiating its program, I had a number of clients who used the Ohio program, and so you can go online, Google or whatever, just Washington State ABLE Act, and information would come up as to how to register for the program.
Nice. So when we do these episodes, we try to keep them to a limited time. So we're running out of time now.
Okay.
So what else would you like to share with our viewers regarding the 529A ABLE account that we might not have told them yet?
Well, this is one of those programs that's out there that many people just are not aware that it's out there, and it meets such a basic need. So if you know anyone that has a disabled person in their family, tell them about the program. And it's easy to get information through the internet, and it's easy to apply. I think the minimum dollar amount to open an account is $25 in Washington. So if you think there's a need out there, just be helpful and mention it to somebody you know and love.
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate you coming on the show because you're just a wealth of knowledge.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and to you, our viewers, thank you for watching another episode of The Road Ahead with us. We look forward to bringing you some more invaluable information in future episodes. Have a great day.